All right, everybody, welcome to the presentation. My name's Trevor, and today we're talking about a Volusion website game plan. Okay, this is video number 2 in a series of Volusion trainings that we're doing. Okay, now I often get asked this from my clients. I need a game plan. I need to know sort of a big picture. What are we going to do to get this website launched and off the ground? Because most of you guys who are in our program want to do some kind of a website. And I want to spend some time today specifically giving you guys kind of a high-level game plan from start to finish, how we're going to start the website, how we're going to get it finished up, and then as the weeks go by, we're going to be teaching you guys all the nitty-gritty details of doing this. Okay, today's is going to be a little more high-level, just to give you kind of an overall picture of how we're going to get one of these Volusion sites up. But first, a quick word of caution. There's a company out there that bugs our clients like crazy. They're called Creative, okay? Creative.com. Some of you guys may have been contacted by them. Others may not have heard them at all. How many of you guys here have actually heard of these guys? Oh yeah, Jeff. If you don't have your Volusion site up yet, this is fine. You'll still learn a lot for sure. Pam, you've heard of them. I knew they'd called you. Yep. Okay, they're a company based out of Washington. They are one of thousands and thousands of companies across the United States that do something similar to what we do. They do marketing for companies, and they help with web design, and they do a bunch of different things. I don't know if they necessarily do coaching and consulting the way we do. They just offer marketing services. Anyway, they are very sneaky about how they come up with your contact information. They were once known as a company called Visible.net, and Visible.net over the years got such terrible and awful reviews and got such a bad reputation online that guess what? They had to change their brand. They went from Visible to Creative just to clean their brand up a little bit. A lot of people don't even realize that. But if you look up Visible.net reviews, you'll see Attorney General complaints and all sorts of awful garbage about this company. In various ways, they're able to get a hold of you. Sometimes it happens via doing a fake order on your website. So let's pretend for just a second you've got your website up. When you get an order on your website, generally speaking, you'll get a notification about your order. And I guess the way our system works is even if the order doesn't go all the way through, meaning somebody goes and tries to check out, they add a product to their cart, they go to check out, and then they don't finish paying. They don't put in any of their payment details, and then they leave. Well, that counts as an order. I mean, obviously you didn't get paid for it, but the system will still send you a message like somebody tried to order something. And what they do is they have one of their salespeople place fake orders on websites all throughout the internet, and they get you to contact them back either through a phone call or an email, and then they try to sell you their products and services. And their big pitch to anybody and everybody who's got a website is that your website is not Google compliant. That's what they'll tell you, no matter what stage of your website you're on. I've had clients that have just barely put up their website, and this company will call and say, hey, guess what? You're not going to rank very well in Google because you're not Google compliant, which is a bunch of garbage because you haven't even had a chance to make your site Google compliant because you've just barely started. See, our coaching program sort of prides itself in helping clients make their websites compliant with all of the standards that Google has. And so we get really frustrated as a company just generally when our clients get called by companies like this. This is just one example of a company, but there are other companies like this that are unaffiliated with us, that once you get a website off the ground, they're calling you, they're emailing you, you're getting fake orders, and they're trying just to get in and sell you a bill of goods that isn't very good. I know there's good marketing companies out there. We're not the only company that does a good job with marketing services, and it would be arrogant to pretend that we were. But I can certainly tell you there's plenty of garbage companies out there that'll take your money and give you poor service, and this is definitely one of them. So I wanted to share with you guys the name of this company. That way you could be on the lookout. So that once you get your website up, you're not you're not taken off guard by some of these companies, because they get your information, right? They'll get it through your own website. They'll contact you through your contact us page, or they'll place a fake order like I just told you. Or if you didn't register your domain name privately, they'll call you because you didn't register your domain name privately, which we'll talk more about later. So you just have to be super careful about this. I've even heard sometimes that these companies will claim to be part of our program, which they are not. So my best piece of advice for you guys, once you get a website up, and I'm bringing this up right now because I'm hoping that we can save you some time and some headache. But please, if somebody calls you claiming they're from our web development team, or they're with our program, or they know who I am, or they know who your coach is, will you just stop them right there and say, hey, what's the name of your company? Let me talk to my coach, and I'll get back to you. And 99% of the time, we'll tell you that it's not worth your time. Okay? I'm assuming some of you guys have gotten calls like this before. Pam, you said you had. Breaky, you said you've heard from them. Yeah, they've called Breaky a whole bunch. It's not just Bob. Good question. Bob just asked, is it because of Volusion specifically? It's not. It's any major e-commerce platform. Volusion is considered a very major, well-known e-commerce software, and so as a result, they're able to find new Volusion websites. Not because we give out your information, or even that Volusion gives out your information. There's just clever ways to find out new Volusion sites that get onto the internet. So it's because they know. A lot of you guys work with Volusion, but it's all the other big what do I want to say? E-commerce software platforms out there. They're calling all of them. So you just got to be aware. I still get calls years later, having done this for a long time. Every once in a while, I'll get an email or a phone call, and it'll be from somebody like this, and I'll have no idea how they got my information. But I'm always real cautious about it, because I know that most of these companies that call like that really aren't very good at what they do. Okay. Yeah, they'll say, sure, Vicky, there's companies that'll say they know who we are and that they're tied in with us. So just don't believe it. I mean, that we do have affiliates, of course, that we work with, but confirm with your coach first and make sure you're talking to an authorized, approved affiliate, before you go talking to somebody like this. Because I'll tell you what, guys, they will say anything they need to say to try to get you to open up your wallet and spend money. And that means at the cost of even them being pretty dishonest a lot of times. So just be careful about it. This isn't, I don't mean just to highlight these guys. There are other companies like this out there. I just want to make sure you guys were aware of it. So, questions about that, or can we go on? I'm going to go on here and get to kind of the main thing that I wanted to talk about today. Although I had to put in a plug here for this, because if it hasn't happened to you yet, it's going to happen to you, and I want to make sure you guys are aware of it. Okay, so let's go to our next page here. Whoops, I'm skipping around a little bit. All right, this is a question I get. So a lot of you guys know that when you start in our program, we emphasize and we focus eBay right off the bat, just because it's a great way to start. It's not as difficult as setting up a website. A lot of our clients make money on eBay quicker that way than anything else, and so we start you there. But, most of you guys eventually want to have your own website. And so the question always comes up, um, who is building my website? Are you, as our client, are you building your own website? Is our company, our web development department, building your website? Well, it depends. So it depends on your initial setup with us. Some of you guys will come into our program having purchased a web design package of some sort, in which case our design team will be constructing and designing your website. Some of you guys will come in with access to the Volusion web building software, but you don't necessarily have a web design package. And if you don't have a web design package, then two things can happen. Either one, we just train you on how to build your website and we work with you on it and you work with your coach to do it. Or two, you can talk to your coach about the costs that are involved in the setup of having our team build a site for you. Now, I'm not trying to do any sort of a sales pitch here at all. I don't care if you use our team or you do it yourself. We're perfectly happy and capable of teaching you and training you on how to build and develop out a good website. The big pro, if you choose to use our design team, is it gets done a little better, a little faster, a little more efficiently. You save a bunch of time, and you have your website more quickly. And I think that's a big benefit. But not all of our clients come in with a web design package, and not all of our clients want to shell out any more money for a web design package. This stuff is not cheap either. It's thousands of dollars. It's expensive to pay a professional designer to build out and develop a good website. So that's totally up to you. Consult with your coach. Talk to your coach about it. Either we'll train you on it, or you can pay to have it done. Either way, we're more than happy to move forward. And if you're not sure, check with your coach. You guys can look at the contract together and make sure you know whose job is what. Okay. Questions about this or creative? If you've got any, go ahead and put them in the comment section there. Okay. So here's kind of the meat of what I want to talk to you guys about. There's a very specific game plan we have when we're trying to get one of these websites put together. Okay, and right now I'm going to assume that, well, I mean, you'll follow this outline whether we're building the site or you're building the site, so it doesn't really matter. This outline is still 100% applicable to you. But I want to kind of high level talk about each of these points. Numbers 1 through 10. 1 is deciding on your niche. That's step 1, and then step 10 is launching your website and moving into the marketing phase. We're going to talk about that and everything in between for a few minutes, okay? Oh, good. Breaky said your design team did an excellent job on building mine. Good. I'm glad. Breaky and I don't work together. He works with one of the other mentors, but I'm glad our designers did a good job. They do. They're good at what they do. Let's look at number 1 for just a second. Before you do anything here, don't we have to have some kind of an idea of what we want to do? Kind of a niche of some sort, don't we? I mean, you're not going to start building a website until you have some kind of a niche decided on, right? Whoops. So number 1 is decide on your niche. Now, guys, and I'm going to defer to you guys for just a minute here. How do you go about deciding on a niche? There's a million things out there you could potentially sell. Number 1, what we do not want to do is we don't want to set up a website that sells a little bit of everything. We're not trying to recreate the wheel and create another Walmart or another Target, another Sears. We're not trying to become the next Amazon, right? That's too hard. You got to have a niche. If you try to be a little bit of everything, you'll never be good at anything, right? I mean, it's like going to med school to become a doctor and studying for a lot of years to specifically become, let's say, a pediatrician, right? A kid's doctor. And then once you become a pediatrician, you're like, but I also want to specialize in brain surgery. So I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to study for brain surgery. because that way I can be a doctor for kids and then I can also do brain surgeries on the side, right? And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, but wouldn't it be great if I could do kids, brain surgery, and feet? So I'm going to become a foot doctor as well, right? Like, people don't do that. When you go to school, you specialize in one area. And why? Because you don't have the time or the resources to try to become something that one person can't do, right? So like one person as an entrepreneur isn't going to create something even remotely comparable to an Amazon that has millions of products with millions of different niches. It's impossible. You have to, if you're going to be kind of a one-man show right now and get a business off the ground, you need to specialize in something and become good at that one thing before you think you can go out and do a second thing or, do too much in one site. So you need a niche. And I'm not saying it has to be super specific. You can get into more of a general niche. I've got some clients that have gotten into like the general home decor industry, or they've gotten into the general outdoor sporting industry, right? But they stay in that industry and they specialize within that industry doing different things. You just have absolutely no business trying to do too much on one site, especially if this is your first time around. Let me see some of your comments here. Oliver said considering 3D as a niche in some way. Interesting. I really like that, Vicky. Vicky says, or you asked the question, I guess, are niches usually passion-driven or based on what is hot? I'm going to say passion-driven for sure. Here's the thing about choosing what's hot or trendy. Trends come and go, right? Fads come and go. And so what we don't want to do is we don't want to specialize in a niche that really is just a fad and not kind of a long-term market. Back in the day remember when those Tickle Me Elmos were out and they were huge and that was a big deal, right? If you would have specialized and made that your very, very specific niche, you'd be in big trouble in 2016, right? Because nobody wants them. You don't want to go after necessarily what's really hot. It's like that pie in the face game right now. That's one of the hottest selling products on the internet is the little family game where you put the little, you put your face through a window and you crank the thing, and depending on how many number or depending on what you roll or whatever determines how many cranks you have. And if you crank to a certain number, the pie hits you in the face or whatever. Some of you guys have probably seen these videos. That's super trendy and really hot right now, but you wouldn't base your niche around that. That might be part of your niche, but your niche would be maybe like family games or kids and family games. That would be your niche, and you'd specialize in that area with that maybe being one of your products. Don't go after what's hot. I mean, just because everybody buys iPhones and iPads doesn't mean we want to get into that industry because it's super competitive too. So there's pros and cons to going after these hot products, but I think your niche should be passion driven for sure. I think that's a really good point, Vicky. Collectibles could be a niche, Jeff, if they were collectibles of a certain kind. So Jeff just asked, could you consider quote unquote collectibles a niche? I don't think you could. It's too broad because anything can be collectible, but you could consider, professional sporting collectibles and paraphernalia. That could be a niche, right? But collectibles in general, probably not. It's a little bit too broad. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this right now other than to say that in all the years I've done this, your niche, what you ultimately choose to go into, what market you get into, your success isn't going to be based on that choice for the most part, unless you choose something crazy like you're going to try to sell anything and everything. Then you'll probably fail. But in most cases, like I've had clients in home decor, outdoor goods, professional sporting stuff, pet supplies, health products, apparel. I mean, you name it. We could go on and on. And I've had clients make money in a lot of different areas. So it's not necessarily the niche that they choose that makes them successful, because there's too much demand and competition for everything out there in 2016. I mean, the bottom line is you just need to choose something that's in demand, that you've got a little passion for, that you can find a supplier for, that's what you go with. You're going to get your edge when you get into marketing. That's how you get your competitive advantage in this. All right, so choose a niche. Work with your coach on that. You guys can choose a niche, and you could have a variety of niches chosen that you want to get into, and eventually try them all, but we're just going to go with one to start. Number two, you got to go out and you got to get a supplier of some sort. Now, here's the challenge with number two, guys. One, suppliers can be hard to find sometimes, especially if you're in this business to do drop shipping. Drop shipping is a very unique service. It's not offered by every supplier that carries every brand. Okay, there's some products that you simply cannot get through drop shipping. It's impossible. The only way you can get them is if you buy in bulk. The example I always like to use, everybody knows who Lego is as a company, right? If you have kids, you know who Lego is. Well, Lego doesn't drop ship. You couldn't contact Lego as a company and say, hey, I want to drop ship your products or have you drop ship for me, because they're going to go tell you to not call them again, because that's not the way they do business. They don't just drop ship for people. The only way you work with Lego is if you own a toy store of some sort and you can buy their product in bulk. Then they'll consider you. That doesn't even guarantee that you get to work with them. So this number two part, I feel like works very closely with number one, meaning if you come up with this great niche but you can't find a supplier, you're stuck, right? Because not everybody will drop ship. So sometimes you have to do number one and number two at the same time. You have to have a 3, 4, 5 different potential niches that you're thinking of. And you should go out there and see what kind of suppliers are available. Whichever suppliers are best, and you can talk about what best means with your coach, but whichever suppliers tend to be best pricing, best product lines, best policies, maybe that's the one that you should go with to start. And by the way, when you're at number two here trying to find some kind of a supplier for yourself, you sometimes find that a lot of the best suppliers aren't willing to work with a startup. They sometimes want to see that you've done some sales. They may even want to see your website, which you probably don't have up yet, right? Because you're just kind of in the starting stages. And you struggle to find a good supplier. Well, that's where I put in parentheses there, retail or wholesale comes into play. Because a lot of my clients will do this. If they find that they're looking at a niche where all of the suppliers require you to have already a website up, to have an EIN, to have tax numbers, they have all these stringent requirements, and you don't have any of those things. Well, here's my advice. Go use a retail drop shipper to get your business up, and then go back and apply later. There's nothing stopping you guys from going out to Amazon and using their products on your website. There's no applications. There's no red tape. You can just go to Amazon right now and pick out some products and put it on your site, right, and resell them. Or any other retailer for that matter. Right? You're not going to get in trouble for that. After all, you're helping these companies, not hurting them. You're marketing them for free. So if you've got this great niche in mind, but your suppliers won't work with you, or there aren't very many suppliers out there, start with a retailer, get your website going, get it built, get it out there, start marketing it, and then a funny thing happens. Instead of you out there looking for suppliers, all the power kind of changes, and all of a sudden, suppliers are looking to contact you. They want their products on your website because you're the one ranking in Google. Because after all, these suppliers just want to sell their products, right? And if you've got a website that's up and going and ranking in Google, you'll have access to better suppliers. So I just want to make it clear that, I don't want to go into too much detail on any of this because I want this to be kind of high level. But when it comes to getting a supplier, don't think that your suppliers early on in your business's history here are going to be your only suppliers. They're just your starting suppliers. And yeah, you may use a few of them for years and years to come, but I can guarantee you if you do this stuff right, you're going to have options and you're going to have access to better suppliers as you go. Oliver just asked if I recommend Doba as a supplier. Some of you guys may have heard of Doba before. They're a pretty large scale company or service that helps people get in touch with products to sell using a drop shipping model. Yeah, Doba can be good depending on your niche. I know they're not always the cheapest company to work with. A lot of you guys, if you're going to work with Doba, have to pay their membership fees, which can be expensive. But they're an option. I wouldn't say that for every niche I would highly recommend them, because I don't think they have good products for every niche. But for some they do, sure. Breaky says some drop shippers required that I had a resale certificate before they would approve me. Yeah. Well, and sometimes the issue comes up, Breaky. You're ready to start your website, and all you need is an EIN or a resale certificate or a tax ID or something to finish up your application with your supplier. But the state is delayed 6 weeks, and so you can't set up for 5 or 6 weeks because you're busy just waiting on your state to process your tax numbers. And then you're stuck. Like, I can't move forward, right? I can't do anything until I get this stuff going. And that's just not true. While you're waiting on your tax numbers, get your website going with some Amazon products. Load those up onto the site so that you can work on these other steps while you wait on your state. Does that make sense? Your state shouldn't stop you from moving forward on your business. Florida took you 3 weeks to get it then, huh, Breaky? Yeah, I mean, some states are longer. So I don't want that to be a stopping point for any of you guys. It shouldn't be. All right, let's move on here. So number 1, number 2, decide on a niche, get a supplier. It can just be even one supplier, by the way. It doesn't have to be a bunch. Number 3, register a domain name. Okay, that's the third step. You need to go out and you need to get a domain name. It doesn't matter where you get it. It needs to be a .com. You generally want it to be kind of short, kind of catchy, maybe have some branding in it. It's something you can work with your coach on to get a good one. They're not expensive. Domain names ought to cost you maybe $10 a year or whatever. So they're very cheap. Don't spend more than like $10 a year. The big thing that I wanted to highlight as we're talking today, being that this is just an overview, is please make sure you register your domain name privately. Meaning, if you don't, it's usually an additional fee. I think with GoDaddy it costs like another $8 or something to make it a private domain. But that hides your contact information as the owner of that domain. See, when you register a brand new domain name, companies like Creative and other marketing companies can find out that you recently registered a domain name. And when they find that out, they're going to look up your details because they're going to call you. They're going to try to call you and sell you something you don't need. If you don't register it privately, you're going to get a bunch of phone calls. And people are going to be trying to sell you left and right. So please, it's worth like the extra $7-8 to make it a private domain name. Do that. Do yourself a favor. It'll be the best $8 you've ever spent. I can guarantee that. Vicky says Washington took 6 weeks. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, some states just take longer than others. Jan, you're having the same problem, it sounds like. Yeah, Jeff, if you've got a domain name, sure, you can use it. Here's the rule, though. Whatever your niche is, your domain name should be related to it. So you don't want your domain name to be what your LLC's name is, or, your pet's name, unless, of course, you're doing a pet website, right? Your domain name should be related to your niche. All I'll say on that is just work with your coach on it. We won't cover domains in too much detail right now. Mickey's still waiting on the state of California. That doesn't surprise me. Somehow the government isn't always as efficient as we'd like them to be. Yeah, well, Kathy, some suppliers are better than other. Kathy has a supplier that she paid $59 to that just hasn't done a great job. So, yeah, I always say, your suppliers will get better. I can guarantee you that. As you get bigger, your suppliers are going to get better. All right, let's go to number 4. Once you've registered your domain name, you've got your supplier, you got your niche. Number 4 is you need to set up your Volusion software. Now, we talked about in great length and great detail in our last video, we talked about Volusion, what it is, how it works. This phone number right here, you call in, that's to our office, and you can set up your Volusion. You're going to get at least 2 months of free hosting. You won't be billed your $39.95 a month for hosting for a couple of months. I won't say anything more about Volusion other than you probably shouldn't get it all set up until after you've registered your domain name. So that's why it's set as number 4. And if you want some more information on Volusion, go watch my video just previous to this, Volusion training number 1. All right, number 5. So you've got your supplier, you're all ready to go, you got your Volusion software, you're into your Volusion software, ready to start working on your site. This is where you need to stop and get working on number 5, which is adding products and adding categories. If I were you guys, we're inclined when we first start a website to work on the design. Right, we want to start working on a logo and choosing a template and doing colors, and I think that's just kind of naturally what we want to do. But no, let me tell you, absolutely not. Don't start decorating before you move your stuff in, and that's the analogy I always use. Nobody really starts hanging stuff on their walls when they move into a new house and laying out their color scheme and doing all their decorating before they've moved the stuff out of the moving van into the new house, right? Move in first, then start decorating. And in the same way, when you're doing a website, add your products. Stock your shelves first. And add some categories too. Organize your products a little bit. So we always say between 5 and 10 categories or so. And I would say no more than 100 to 150 products. That is plenty. Over the years, I've had a few clients that have gone above and beyond that 100 and 150 recommendation. They've got 6, 7, 8, 900 products, 1,000 that they've added onto the site. And it's just not a good idea to start for a few reasons. One, it's a lot harder to maintain and keep track of inventory levels on 100 products than it is 1,000 products, right? Or I said that backwards. You know what I mean. 1,000 products would be harder to manage, right? You still have to check to make sure things are still in stock from your supplier. It's easier to do if you've only got 100 or 150 products up, or price changes or any other variants that come from your suppliers. Second thing is, it takes a long time to add 1,000 products onto your site, or 500 or whatever it is. Look, the first Walmart didn't look like the Walmart of today, right? The Walmart of today, if you've been in some of their super Walmarts or whatever they're called, they're giant Walmarts that have the grocery and the general merchandise. Those are huge, huge stores, right? I guarantee Walmart didn't look like that when they first burst onto the retail scene all those years ago. They didn't. Okay, no company starts with all their inventory fleshed out like that. It just doesn't happen. Think about Amazon with me for just a second. Amazon sold what when they first started? What was Amazon known for? Yeah, Amazon was known for books, right? That's where everybody went to go buy books. Now what's Amazon known for? Everything, right? So I know I shouldn't be comparing Walmart and Amazon to our little store, but you guys get the point. Keep the products down. 100, 150, that's plenty. I'm not saying that's all you should have on your site. I think you should have many more than that. But that can come over time. I would say as part of number 5, after you've got your between 100 and 150 products on your site, consider adding an extra 5 products a week. And during that time, you can be doing lots of other things. 3% of your week can be adding inventory. The other 97% of your week can be out there doing marketing, finishing up the rest of the site, doing things that are actually going to help your store start making money. Okay, questions about that, or does that sound good? Okay, let's go to number 6, which is set up your information pages. Once you have your categories and your products on there, you need to do your shipping page, you need to do your returns page, you need to do your About Us page, you need to do your Contact Us page. Now, today's webinar isn't going to cover all the details of what you should have on each of those pages, but suffice it to say, well, you know, an e-commerce website is made up of a home page, it's made up of category pages, it's made up of product pages, and then it's made up of these informational pages. You need at least shipping, returns, about, and contact. That can be something that you work with your coach on. We'll of course cover this stuff in detail this year. Really, this webinar is sort of highlighting a lot of what we're going to be covering over the course of the year as we cover all this stuff in a lot of detail. Number 7, make sure your admin is set up correctly. Okay, so that would mean, is your site charging sales tax the way it should? Is that set up correctly? You need to check and make sure. Is your payment processing set up correctly? Are you using what's called a merchant account where you can accept credit cards right on the site, or are you just going to go right through PayPal, which is the cheaper recommended option? I tell most of my clients to start with PayPal because it's better for a brand new business. Later on, you can get a merchant account if you want to, but it's more expensive. Whoops. Let me go back to where I was. Here we go. We'll talk more about payment processing later. Order notifications. You want to make sure you're getting your order notifications to the right email. So this is all kind of like the administrative stuff that you want to make sure you're all set up on. Okay, that's number 7. Now, once that stuff is done, guys, now you come back and you start decorating. Number 8 is choosing a template and doing the design and setup of your homepage and your logo, okay? Now, you can do this yourself. We've got some training on some basic graphic design to help you guys do this. Websites these days are a lot more simplified than they used to be. There's not as much to them. Homepages are very simple. The overall templates and designs are simplified. So work with your coach on choosing a good look. If you're not very good with graphic design, there's ways to pay people to do a logo for fairly inexpensively. But I guess this part, number 8, is where it's really nice. If you're paying a graphic design team or a web development team like the one here in our office, they just do number 8 for us. They build out and design a logo. They build out and design a nice color scheme. They build it off a really nice a dynamic template that's going to show up well on all devices, mobile, tablets, computers. It's nice just to have somebody do that, but we can also teach you how to do it. So that's number 8. Number 9, before you move on and finally launch this thing, we always have you run a little test order on your site. Make sure everything's functioning. Don't make your first customer be your test order. Have a family member or a friend get on there and try to order something from you. Or you do it yourself. Make sure the money goes to the right place. Make sure you're getting an email notification. Make sure that the customer is having a good experience, that there's no hiccups. Just run a little test order, make sure it's all working. And then finally, number 10, I should have put this in quotes, but we then launch our website. Now, to actually launch it really doesn't mean anything other than to say we're prepared and we're ready to start having customers come to the site. That's all that means. So if you launch a website, it's live on the internet, it's connected to your domain name, and you're ready to start getting traffic there, which would take you into the next stage, which would be marketing. So this is super high level here, guys. If you're fast, you can do all this in the space of a couple of weeks. If you're a little slower and it takes you some time, it could take you a couple of months. But this right here is kind of your high level game plan. If you want to get up one of these e-commerce websites, This isn't so much affiliate marketing, although affiliate marketing follows kind of a similar model. This is mainly just for setting up an e-commerce dropship type business, okay? All right, so questions on 1 through 10 here, guys, or does this make sense? Do you feel like you can kind of see the bigger picture on your site? A lot of you guys that have had a website built for you, a lot of this stuff gets done for you. But I know a lot of you guys are either A, doing your own website, or B, at some point will do your own website, and we want to make sure you know all the steps. Yeah, that was a lot of stuff, wasn't it, Jeff? Oh, that was a lot of stuff. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Feel free to ask questions, guys, as we're doing this. Be suspicious of other phone calls. Okay, so I know I've already talked about this, but let me just say it one more time. Are some of these companies that will call you if you didn't register your domain name privately or otherwise, somehow your information gets out there. Don't assume we're just giving it out, because we're not. Your information is important to us. If you can do us a favor and just always check back with us. We've had some that have tried to impersonate us and pretend like they're calling from the web development department. They'll sell themselves something very generic. They're calling from the coaching team, or they're calling from the web development team, or whatever the case may be, and they're not part of us at all. So be suspicious always first. Contact your coach before working with anybody, okay? All right. Let's go on to the next one here. Okay, so just some other little tidbits here, and then I'll let you go. Number one, do one website at a time. Don't try to do 2 or 3 sites at once. I get a few ambitious clients here and there that say, Trevor, I want to do these 3 niches at once. I've got this outdoor site I want to do. I want to do pet supplies, and I want to do, home office decor. And I want these 3 sites to be going at once. And it's like, wow, those are great ideas, but let's get the first one going first. Let's get making money on the first one, and then let's dig into the second. Because these websites there's a lot of work that comes with the setup. Trying to do it 3 at one time, or even 2 at one time, is just going to delay us getting these things up and making money off them. So number one, just focus on one at a time. Number two, don't shoot for perfection on your design. And then I use the example, think in terms of software. It's launched imperfectly and updated as it goes. So think with me just for a minute, guys. You remember, what was the first version of Windows that you guys ever ran on your computer? Do you remember? I remember the first version of Windows that I was exposed to. It was, I think it was called 3.1, Windows 3.1 or something. Do you guys remember that? Or 3.2? I can't remember exactly what it was called. It was this really, really sort of crappy, clunky Windows system. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? The Windows software. Or maybe it was Windows 95 for some of you guys. Or Windows 98. Right? Imagine with me just for a second if Windows at 95 was like, there's still a lot of bugs, still a lot of things we don't like. We're not going to launch this thing until it's perfect. So they don't launch it, right? And then the years go by and they keep working on it and perfecting it, and they keep working on it, and it would never get launched, right? Because it would never be perfect. It's the same thing with your website. I can tell you for sure, you have to at some point say, okay, it's good enough. There's some things that I might want to change as far as the design is concerned, but it's good enough to make sales. Let's go with it and make changes as we go. If Windows never subscribed to that model and simply just said, hey, we're going to perfect our software before we ever even put this to the marketplace, Microsoft wouldn't even be a company, right? They wouldn't have any money coming in at all. So subscribe to that kind of a model. Your design does not have to be perfect before you start marketing. Number 3, we've already talked about this. Don't add too many products at the start. Number 4, add products manually. There are systems out there that will import massive amounts of products into your Volusion database. Don't do it. Add them manually. It's much easier. It's less buggy. You can add a product in like 2 minutes a piece if you're fast at it. So it's not going to be some huge time saver either. Just don't do it. Number 5, don't use copyrighted material on your site. If you find a picture on the internet that you like, that doesn't necessarily mean you can use it. We're not going to have a discussion about copyright right now, other than to say you can't just pull any image off the internet and use it on your site and it's okay. It's not necessarily okay. Number 6, be patient with yourself. You're learning an entirely new software system. A lot of you guys get frustrated early on when you're working with Volusion because things aren't going as fast as you'd like it to. Just be patient with yourself. It'll come with time. Number 7, professional web design services. Those are expensive. Okay, I've had clients come to me, not often, but on the rare occasion, after they've been in our program, and they come back and they say, Trevor, I saw a commercial on TV. I could have gotten a website built professionally for $40 a month, and you guys charged me thousands of dollars, and it's so expensive through you guys. I feel like I got ripped off. No, I can promise you that whatever was being advertised to you was not comparing apples to apples. Okay, good web design costs thousands of dollars. I know, because I was once in your guys' shoes looking for somebody to design a website for me. And I went and contacted a bunch of really good, reputable companies, and web designers don't work for cheap. It's like any other profession out there or professional service. You don't hire a good doctor for cheap. You don't hire a good accountant for cheap. You don't hire a good lawyer for cheap. You don't hire a good web designer for cheap either. It's a little bit expensive. And so for our clients that can't afford to do it, that's kind of the genius behind our coaching program. We say save the money and just learn how to do it, be taught how to do it, okay? But you need to know that good web design isn't something you pay a few bucks for. Lastly, and I promise I'll shut up after this because I've given you guys plenty to chew on today. Number 1, you only need one supplier to start. You don't need several suppliers. You don't need all of the holes in your inventory filled before you can start. You can fill in those gaps and those holes as you go along. Nobody's inventory is complete at the very start. Number 2, this is not going to be your last site. Once you learn these skills, creating more sites will become easy, and that is true. I remember the first site I created, and this goes to number 3, my first website sold wind chimes back in the day. This would have been clear back in like around the year 2000, right? I might have even, no, it was a little later than that. It was like 2003, something like that. I found this supplier out of Washington, and they had these great wind chimes, and I put a website together, and it was the ugliest website you'd ever seen. It took me forever to set up. I actually made some sales on it, and then later had some problems with my supplier, and that was that. But it was not. Wasn't making house payments using the money off of that business. That's for sure. But it taught me the skills necessary to replicate it and to do better and better, which is what I did. So I'm not saying you guys can't do real well on your first sites. I think you really can, but just know that you're learning a skill set that you should be able to replicate, and you should be able to create more than one site over the years. Number 4, even the most beautiful website with the best products won't sell just because they exist. You need marketing, right? That's a pretty simple concept, isn't it? You can have the best functioning website with great stuff, and you won't make any money without marketing. So all of this stuff that we're talking about today is kind of like part 1 of doing well online with one of these sites. Part 2 is marketing, and we'll get to more of that later. Number 5, your website doesn't have to be gorgeous to make money. It just needs to follow good principles of modern e-commerce website design. Web design is very subjective. Some people think a certain look is nice and others don't, but we try to follow really good, practiced, tried principles of e-commerce web design, and we feel like it works, okay? All right, so I don't think I'm going to go into any more detail here. Let me go back to our main game plan overview slide. Do you guys have any questions or concerns before I let you to it? You may need to rewatch this. We'll be posting this online a little bit later on. I did record this, so watch for that. Possibly, Kathy. I'm not sure on the legalities of having the little trademark symbol after the name. I think you're supposed to, but I've seen it both ways. I'm not sure legally what's right and what's wrong on that. Good question though. Hey, do you guys feel? Tell me honestly. After this, do you feel a little overwhelmed? Was this a lot in one, or did this offer a little bit of clarification? Okay, good. Good. It's a plan that works, guys. This is kind of the model I've been following for the last few years, and it's worked well. So, what's going to happen going forward now is we're going to look at each stage here in a lot of detail, and especially when we get into like the nuts and bolts of adding products and categories and using Volusion. This was very much a sort of a theoretical type presentation. I want to get out of the theory and do more of the hands-on, which we'll be doing. So if you feel like some of this was glossed over, just know that our Wednesday presentations are going to be digging into all sorts of detail on domain names and suppliers and using the software itself. And I think you guys, if you'll continue to make this a regular part of your week, we'll definitely gain a lot from it, for sure. Good. A lot of good feedback. I appreciate that, guys. All right, let me turn off the recording here. If you guys are watching this recorded, thanks for coming along. Hopefully this helped. And then if you guys are here live, I'll just take a couple more questions.